we get calls every day from Greenfield and Oak Creek. We get calls from Fox Point every day. People saying, I don't have food. I don't know where my next meal is coming from, or I struggle every month to have enough food in the house to keep my kids fed. I'm sacrificing other things that I need to be providing for my family, for food, for housing. I still don't have health care. I don't want to take my kid to the doctor because I've got a large deductible, I've got copay, or I just flat out don't have health insurance. Where can I get that? So you look at that category of the top 5 or 10 things. You're looking at stable housing, you're looking at food, you're looking at utility bill payment, you're looking at health care, substance abuse, mental health, and from county to county and from community to community, those are going to be the top 5, 7, or 10 issues that present everywhere.
This is a Sterling Series, Flourishing Families. I'm your host, Tony Karls, and today I'm sitting down with John Hyatt, President and CEO of Impact here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So John, what are some of the risks of someone that doesn't get control of substance abuse? And what I mean is, people tell themselves that they might not have a problem, and what they might not know is kind of what long-term damage, whether it's in their relationships or their work life, that they're actually causing. So what from your experience, what are some of the risks as it relates
The
to
risks
that?
are great, and it's not unusual for people to not be aware of the extent of the problem that they're having. So it can become increasingly aware to the people around them, so husbands and wives, family members, employers, that they're having a problem, whether they're alcoholic, whether they've got a drug addiction, but little by little, you start to see things that pop up in a person's life. Sometimes they're really dramatic, sometimes they're smaller things. There's attendance at work, there are increasing arguments at home. You end up saying things to your spouse or to your kids, or to a loved one that you ordinarily wouldn't say. You end up putting yourself in risky situations, and so you're out having a night at a bar, and somebody comes up and you misread a sign and you think that they've said something to your girlfriend, and the next thing you know, you're out in the parking lot having a fight. And so again, over time, those things can start to catch up on you and impact your health, impact your relationships, your mental health, and lead to destruction in your life, in your family life, at work, accidents, injuries, domestic violence. About half of the people that commit suicide are under the influence of alcohol or drugs. And so the risk and the price is the erosion of your health, of your relationships, resulting sometimes in death.
John, can you share confidentially, of course, someone that's been impacted by addressing the substance abuse issue that you can kind of tell us about, and kind of what they were able to do in reclaiming their life?
Yeah, we have people that show up in our office every day that are struggling, whether it's opiates and heroin, whether it's crack or cocaine, whether it's alcohol, and they're just in a desperate situation. And so we had a guy a while ago, and he was talking about his use and the loss that he had of his family. His wife had left. Most of the other people in his life had disowned him. He lost his job. He didn't have a place to stay. As a last resort, his adult son had brought him to our office and said, basically, this is it. If you're not going to do something about this, look, I'm the last one that's looking out for you, and you need to make a change or make a difference. And so what we did was we did that full comprehensive assessment with him, went through what he was using, how long he was using, when he last used, had he ever tried getting off of alcohol in the past, and then created a plan for him. And we were able to have him walk out of this office, get into a treatment program, a substance abuse treatment program. He was drinking a lot every day and had health issues on top of it. And so got him into that program. also got him to a doctor because there were some mental health issues, depression and anxiety, and started in that program immediately. And we checked on him a couple of times to make sure that he was still there, that he was still participating and active in that program. And then some time went by and we hadn't heard from him, and actually got contacted by his son, who said, that day, that moment in time changed his life and changed our family's life. So Dad got in that program. From that moment, he didn't drink again. It's been 6 months. Not only has he not drank, he's employed again. He had worked most of his life in a foundry and had found employment there as a manager, was making a really good salary, and had started to rebuild relationships in his life with his family.
So, John, we've been talking a lot about, specific instance and kind of what are some of the emotional peaks and valleys and kind of what can you do. But you guys do a lot here at Impact. Can you talk a little bit about Impact and how it started, how long it's been around, and kind of what are some of the programs? Just tell us a little bit about Impact.
We've been here a long time, right? We've been an important part of the community. It's actually our 60th anniversary, so all the way back to 1960. When we were known as the Milwaukee Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence. I've been here for 25 years now, 4 years as the president and CEO. And about 20 years ago, the field of substance abuse was changing. People were starting to think about this isn't just substance abuse, there's almost always a mental health component to it. And then people are coming with this issues, and they've also experiencing other difficulty in their life with their medical health, with their employment, with legal issues. And so we made a decision back then that we were going to broaden the scope of how we try and help people. And so from those single issues of substance abuse, now even when we're doing that alcohol and drug assessment, it's much more comprehensive. And so we're talking about what trauma has a person had in their life, are there mental health issues, these other things referred to as social determinants of health. And so do you have food in the house? Do you have a safe place to live? Are you able to pay your utilities? Do you have health insurance? You've got people in other people in your family with a disability that need help or assistance. And so it's become the broadest spectrum of family health and social services. And we've tried to make ourselves as accessible as possible. So you can walk into our office. You can call us on a designated phone line we have, which is 211. So you dial that simple 3-digit number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and you say, I need help with food, I need help with housing, I have a substance abuse issue, I know somebody who does, I work with somebody who needs some help. And I might say surprisingly, it's not surprising to us that a lot of people will think, well, this is a city problem, this is a poverty problem, this is those people. And while I would say that's true, right? So this is people with poverty, but this is also people that are working a job and working 2 jobs, and families that are married, that have kids, that as good as the economy is, it's still tough to make a living for people and for a household if you're making, $12 an hour. And something comes up, right? So there's a medical bill, there's an auto repair, and all of a sudden, people are adding up, and they get to the bottom and they're like, I can't afford to pay everything. And so am I paying my rent? Am I buying my prescription? Do I pay my utility? And they have to make these really tough choices about what do I sacrifice and where do I sacrifice? And that's a time where you call us and you can say, is there any help for me with this? And oftentimes there is. We work with this database of resources, about 25,000. We cover the entire 9 counties in southeastern Wisconsin. So if there's a resource out there that might be helpful, we're likely to know about it. People going through divorce, right? That's another major life obstacle for a person. Family income is often impacted by that. And so once there was enough and all of a sudden it's getting divided a couple of ways, there's not enough. My kids got to go back to school. How do I afford supplies? How do I get them clothes and shoes? And there are programs that we're aware of where it might not be where you can get closed, but if we say, look, if you're eligible for assistance with food or assistance with utilities, okay, now I got that taken care of. Now I have some money to go out and get the school supplies or sign the kid up for soccer league or something like that. So, I mean, it's really it's the range of all those services that we can help people with. 500 times a day people call us. We had a really cool story happen here. We have a development person who was, we had a group of potential supporters come into the office. And so we wanted to tell them about a dramatic story that we were aware of. And so she was out in the 211 call center and she said, hey, tell me about a call or about somebody that you've worked with recently where it was just dramatic, and so that we could share that with that group and try and inspire them. And there was a woman who said, well, I have a story. There was a woman who had been in the military. She was a 13-year veteran and had come to Milwaukee after discharge, had followed the love of her life. And she didn't have family here and was here not long, and then things went horribly wrong, right? That relationship ended. There was some bad stuff that went on. And here she is now in a community where she doesn't know where to go, who to turn to, what to do. And fortunately said to somebody at her church, what can I do about this? And they said, hey, call Impact, dial 211. And so she called here and said, look, I don't have a place to stay. I don't have anything. And we have a relationship, again, with the resources in the community, and worked with Veterans VA, and we were able to get her into housing and got her stable. And she said that person called here kind of off and on, and we were able to get her connected to other resources. And ultimately, that person ended up over at MATC and got a degree in medical transcription. She's a bilingual person. And that person then, and our development person, somebody, oh my God, we got to find this person. This story is too good to be true. What? And the person said, it's me. Oh, wow. I'm the person, right? So she said, I graduated and I've got this degree in medical transcription. I'm bilingual. I'm looking for where can I use my ability to speak another language. I saw you guys. I knew a little bit about you. I called you up, and kind of that's the rest of the story. Yeah. So, I mean, we know oftentimes people are coming to us once and we get them connected. We don't always get the rest of the story. But we know from that story and others that what we do for people every day helps them. They come to us in a crisis. We stabilize them. We get them to a place where now they've got stable footing, and they can start to think about, now what can I do to make my life better and get things back on track? And just as we knew in that story, that happens. Yeah. So
some of the things that may not be thought about is really what's that plaque that's being built up over a long period of time.
That's a good description.
It's not. It doesn't happen.
It's not protective either.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like a hardening of
nope.
A shield or some armor.
Nope.
So you mentioned some of the concerns that people come to you here at Impact for. Could you highlight kind of what are the main ones that Impact's really has their hands around, that they really provide for the community?
Yeah. So when I say 500 calls a day, and then the dozens of people that walk into our office, you're really talking about those really basic needs for people. So people are struggling with, and you may not think it in our community, that the amount of people that struggle with, where's my next meal coming from? And so we cover the entire community, 9 counties. And again, you'd think, well, this is kind of a city problem. I grew up in Oak Creek. I live in Greenfield. We get calls every day from Greenfield and Oak Creek. We get calls from Fox Point every day. People saying, I don't have food. I don't know where my next meal's coming from. Or I struggle every month to have enough food in the house to keep my kids fed. I'm sacrificing other things that I need to be providing for my family, for food, for housing. I still don't have health care. I don't want to take my kid to the doctor because I've got a large deductible, I've got copay, or I just flat out don't have health insurance. Where can I get that? So you look at that category of the top 5 or 10 things. You're looking at stable housing, you're looking at food, you're looking at utility bill payment, you're looking at health care, substance abuse, mental health, And from county to county and from community to community, those are going to be the top 5, 7, or 10 issues that present everywhere. It's hard. It's still hard for families to make a go of it. And when things come up, healthcare is really expensive. You have those kind of health issues, auto repairs, just stuff just happens. And it makes it difficult for people. And then they're not knowing where to go. So.
When you're talking about that, because I'm nerdy and I love tech, like the technology side of stuff, is how does a person that's sitting in a call center have at their fingertips at any one time the resources required to successfully answer a random call about any of those things?
Yep.
Because I think that's one thing that makes Impact fairly unique is their ability to execute on such a wide variety of things efficiently. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. It is a challenge, and if you're listening to me at all, you know that one of the things that we have to convey to people when they come in this office or when they call us on the phone is that I have the time for you, I care about you, and I'm going to listen really closely, and I'm going to be able to help you. Yeah. And so that's the first impression you have. When you're doing that on the phone, that has to be genuine and sincere, because there's no other way for that to come out. There's no body language. I can't get closer to you and increase the intensity. It has to come through in my voice, and it has to start with somebody that's here because they care about that to begin with. Right. If you're looking for a job just to make pay, it's not the right place. So you have to be able to care about that, and then you have to be a good interviewer. You have to be trained really well, and so we train people sort of slowly from the time somebody comes in until they can take all of the calls, those psychiatric crisis, suicidal calls. It's about 12 weeks to get trained. We start you on some of the, I would call them benign. They're still critical, but somebody calling for food, that's a critical call, but there's a fairly regular way that we help people get access to food. But still, you have to be caring, you have to be concerned, you have to listen, you have to be entering information, and you have to be searching for information at the same time. So there's a lot of stuff going on. It's not for everybody. And by the end of the day, when you've done that 40 or 50 times, and you've had people call on their worst day, and while most people are very appreciative, they're also desperate. And there are times when we don't have exactly what somebody's looking for, or we don't have anything at all, right? Somebody calls and says, well, I was told that you guys could help me. I'm about to be evicted because I'm behind on my rent, and I need $719. We can't write a check for somebody for $719. But in any case, it's an example of, if we don't have it, and then people are mad, and so now I'm concerned and doing this because I care about people, and I'm getting pushed back about, why couldn't you be more helpful, or why couldn't you just wheel a refrigerator over to my house, or and again, I understand where people are coming from because they're desperate, but that just makes it a tough part of the job too, that folks are challenging to work with. One of the things that is becoming a new part of the field is that we know that a lot of people have experienced trauma in their life, and that's trauma from physical abuse or sexual abuse, or just growing up in a family where you were neglected and you didn't get the kind of support that you needed. You've seen violence around you. You've been a part of that. And so we started interviewing or asking that question when people are coming into the office, and found out that almost 70% of the people that we're working with have had trauma as a part of their life experience. And so that just helps us understand where people are coming from. So you tend to have a bit of a distorted view of the world, where you think that people are out to get me, that people can't be trusted, that there isn't something for me. And so when I said to you earlier that when we say to somebody, thank you for calling us today, or thank you for coming in, we're glad you're here, how can we help you? We say that on purpose, because that very first interaction, we're trying to jar that person a little bit into thinking, oh, wait a minute, you're here to help me? I could tell you meant that. And so to get them thinking a little bit different way, right, because they come in arms sometimes ready to go. They're under that impression again that you're going to judge me in some way, and you're not really interested in what's right for me. So we try and disarm them, and right from the beginning, we try and get them into that way of thinking about maybe this is different. And because we're the first place they come, if we can impart that to them, then they're much more likely to continue on, follow up with another resource, and believe that somebody there might be helpful to me as well.
As far as funding goes, is how, if people are like drawn into what you're doing here and they feel connected with that, how can they help support what you're doing here at Impact?
Yeah. So there's a number of different ways. The easiest way to help us is to make a donation, right? So you can go to our website. There's easy access there. It's impactinc.org. There are other ways to help support us. You can tell a friend about us. You can come for a visit and see what we're doing here. You can come and work for us. You've got people that are influential in your community that would benefit from knowing about us. You can connect them to us. We're always bringing people through on a tour to hear about the programs and services, to spend a few minutes in that call center. You've been in there. You can feel the chatter, and you can feel the energy, and you can feel the activity there. And it's it can be a pretty moving place for a person to spend a few minutes. We've had groups of people come in and they make follow-up calls to people that have used the service. We do satisfaction surveys. So were our staff professional and polite and helpful? And did you have a better understanding of your problem than you did before? Did you get connected to the resources? Is your life better than it was? Would you recommend Impact to a friend or a family member? And people sit and they make those phone calls. And it's pretty amazing for them to talk to people that have used the service. So there are lots of ways that people can help.
John, thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with us and telling us about what you guys do here at Impact and what type of, for the lack of a better word, impact you guys have on the Milwaukee area and the community that we have here. So I really appreciate your time and you educating us on what you're doing here.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share. Your interaction with our content is greatly appreciated. Visit sterlinglawyers.com to learn more about our firm and meet our attorneys.